All right. So I got all that working. Got a camera, got a microphone. It looks like it's recording the volume, the audio, and it looks like it's recording the video. I think we're good. So let's see. I'm in my Gather Town space right down here. You'll see the little icon pop up. Gather Town is a virtual space where I get to create interactive whiteboards and different resources and make it available for collaborative learning, collaborative workshopping, having multiple people. I mean, I can have up to like 20 people in one space, all virtually talking and sharing in different spaces of the room, and be able to move from group to group however it is they need to move. So whether you're tutoring with a group of students or you're working after school with a group of students and you can't meet in person, or if you're working across the country, this is a great space to try this out. So I'm just playing with it today. I'm going to be looking at my standards-based classroom for self-directed learning. And if I switch this out, there we go. You'll see I am in my office at the moment, just hanging out, just like I am in real life. And yeah, I got my two computer screens. I got my guitar by my desk, some couches here. I got my virtual library that you can access. You can actually visit all of the different PDFs and research documents that I've been collecting over the years. There's an interactive whiteboard you can play with here. There's you can order my book, of course. But here we have my three classrooms: self-directed learning, social emotional learning, and standards-based grading. You notice the little screens that pop up here. If you press X, these are the 6 core elements of a standards-based approach. And so I have one of these for each of the classrooms. So for SEL, you have 8 topics, and for self-directed learning, you have 5 very specific topics. So when it comes to standards-based grading, what that classroom is going to explore is standards, grading, proficiency, assessment, reporting, and then curricula. And each of these topics, they are interdependent. They refer to each other in ways that are really important, critical even, for teachers and schools to really get into understanding and creating a shared language and shared understanding for how these all get implemented in a classroom setting. So let's take a look at that classroom by jumping on this little teleport portal thing. And here we are. So that's a way to get from my office to the classroom, and you can just jump on this portal and come back to the classroom. Normally, if you were out here in the classroom in the main area, you would just walk over here and enter this classroom. So I'll do it that way. And here are the topics again, 1 through 6. Now I'm going to look at this first board, standards-based learning specific to standards. Now, when other people join, there's going to be other videos of people joining this group is going to show up on top of these screens, on top of the board here. And so multiple people can be looking at this same whiteboard. And this whiteboard opens up an interactive Miro website, a web tool that allows people to use the wheel on their mouse to zoom in and out and put post-its and leave comments. And it's essentially an infinite whiteboard that lets you really collaborate and leave comments for people and work with each other in ways that honestly I've never seen before. This is all very new, and I think it's a great use of technology. And at the bottom of this particular board, there's a link here to schedule a consultation. This is a Calendly link, so you can just schedule a time to meet with me to go over any of these boards that are in this room. So I put a bunch of information here about standards just to get people started, and you can't really interact with them. I've locked them. But you can add to this board. You can add your post-its, and you can share what it is that you know. You can share your questions, and you can meet with people here without me. You press X again, or you click this X here, and you can go to another board where you can meet with a different group of people about grading. And this one I haven't entered any information. I wanted to get started with groups of people and invite them to discuss what it means to effectively communicate academic growth, because that's ultimately what grading is. A grade is a communication tool for letting somebody know where they're at with a particular learning progression of concepts and skills. Like, have you gotten to this learning target? All right, if you have you gotten to this next learning target that builds off the last one? And if you haven't gotten there yet, well, how where are you in that particular learning process to that target? Let's talk about how we're grading. How are we breaking down standards into things, ideas that make sense, so that we can identify if this was the goal of the target. If we say you are 10% of the way, what does that mean? If we say that you are the first step out of 4, what does that mean? So really understanding and creating that shared language is necessary for creating a shared understanding of what grading actually is. And I think it's important for teachers to have that shared understanding, but it's also important for the students and the parents to be part of that shared understanding. So, this is a really cool board. One I think that would facilitate a fantastic conversation about grading, but that still does overlap some with this other conversation about proficiency. And when you look at what proficiency actually means, and you really explore this core concept of what standards-based learning is all about, and you really explore what proficiency is and how it relates to academic growth, you inevitably start talking about Webb's depth of knowledge and Bloom's taxonomy and verbs and context and depths of proficiency, and there's a lot of really important, not just really cool ideas, but really important ideas that need to be expressed in ways that are developmentally appropriate for students to understand, in a way that their parents can be partners with the teachers in the school in communicating that proficiency. You know what I mean? Because ultimately you want the students to understand these proficiency levels in a way that they can learn to guide their own learning and direct their own learning with what they're interested in over time. So that has to be, and as far as I'm concerned, that this is a necessary aspect of creating a self-directed learning approach to teaching and learning. Then you have assessments, and then you have reporting, and you have student accessible curricula. So these are the 6 core elements of a standards-based approach. And if we do not understand these core concepts, then how we're actually putting these things into practice are going to be inconsistent across classrooms. They're going to be inconsistent across students' understanding and their parents' understanding. And you're going to end up with kind of a hodgepodge of understanding across classrooms, and students are going to get frustrated, and you're going to end up with a compliance-based rather than a mastery-based classroom learning environment. So for small groups who want to get together and talk about these, that's what this is all about. For a larger group, if I go and stand on this spot right here, I'm going to be able to speak to everybody in all of these chairs. So if there's a presentation that I wanted to give, or if you wanted to give a presentation to another group of teachers who wanted to listen to you, then you could use this space in that way. And so everybody that's in one of these chairs is going to be able to hear the person who is speaking at that podium. And of course, I put a review of chapter 1 of my book, Creating a Self-Directed Learning Environment, that you can watch if as sort of a introduction to standards-based learning. And I go over a lot of these concepts in this video. So you're going to want to make sure that you pause the video, even if you minimize it, down here at the bottom. So everybody that's in that space can watch the video and hear whoever is in on that podium. So that's oh, and anybody new that maybe this room is full of all 6 different groups, and somebody wants to kind of get a sense for what's happening in each group, you just stand on one of these squares and you can sort of cycle through and kind of check out what's going on in each of the groups pretty easily. So that's a nice feature. And then if you wanted to talk to everybody on this side of the room, you could announce, okay, let's move somewhere else. And if you wanted to go back to the office and meet with me, I am generally, I'm here during scheduled office hours, and I'll be found in this this office in this space. So with that, I'm going to say that's the review of the standards-based learning classroom. And if you're interested in a meeting to talking about any of those core concepts, hit me up. Exploringthecore.com is where you can find more information about that. And you can email me at greg@exploringthecore.com. And that's it.